Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to a series of conversations we're doing here at the Festival of the Sound. And we're speaking to musical couples during this series. They've surprised us with what they have to say, and sometimes they've surprised one another with what they have to say. That was certainly the case this lunchtime. Today it's violinist Julie Baumgartel and oboist James Mason. Jim, one of the Jims. So welcome. I'm going to ask you, well, let's start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start.
Is there a song?
I think it's a song. It's going to be The Sound of Music.
There we go. There you go.
Julie, where did you grow up? Where was home? And when did you start your first musical instrument?
I grew up in Vancouver. I'm a West Coast girl, actually south of Vancouver in White Rock. And I started playing the piano at school when I was, I think, grade 2. And then my mom had started up an amateur orchestra, and she took up the violin to play in this orchestra. And I thought, I'd like to do that too. And so I started the violin the next year.
Yeah. It was a musical family?
Sort of musical family. I mean, my younger sister's a singer,
yes,
and my brother writes songs and does a lot of recording. He's got a home studio, and he's a super creative guy. And
sounds like a musical family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They love music, for sure, yeah.
Jim, where did you grow up?
I grew up right outside of Baltimore in the States, in the city of Baltimore, in the state of Maryland. My father was a long-distance truck driver. My mother, she became a bank manager, but she was a housewife who did everything. She was a secretary at the local elementary school, and I have a couple of brothers. I have an older brother and a younger brother, and we were just happy kids. We had a really great childhood.
And when did a musical instrument come along?
Well, I started in those days, in the late 50s. You started a musical instrument when you were in that area. You started you would have your first hit at an instrument when you were in about grade 3. So I started on the clarinet, and it was very much an erstwhile situation. I mean, my mother loved music, and she made me play something. And I can remember, well, she tells a story where anytime I would do something mischievous, I would come home and I would tell her how much I loved playing and how much I wanted to go practice right then and there. And she knew something had happened, or she knew, you know.
Didn't she used to lock you in your room and say,
she
I can't hear you?
She would put me in my bedroom, she said, "You better practice, boy." And then she said, "I don't hear anything in there." And I'd be sitting there, you know, like anybody else, you know. But that was that. And then I became real serious with baseball. Loved baseball, and played really serious baseball up until I was 16 years old. I was scouted by the California Angels and had a tryout when I was 16. In those days, all the big league teams, and there were fewer teams then than there are now, of course, but they all had various places around in the 48 states where they would have tryout camps, and the coaches would hear about somebody who they thought was good, or you know, and they would invite that person to this tryout camp. So nowadays there's a thing down in Florida called Bonanza, and you pay $1,000. At least that's what it was when my son was interested in doing this. You pay $1,000 and you go down there and you stay for a week, and all the coaches go there. And you play for a week, and if the coaches like you, they will pick you or make an offer or whatever. But when I was doing this, you would be invited. You would go to the various places. So I was 16 and went to the tryout camp, and they said, "No, not big enough yet, not strong enough yet. Don't throw quite fast enough yet. Come back next year." So I was heartbroken. I was all ready to quit school and become a baseball player, go in the minors and have a wonderful life as a big league pitcher. Well, that summer I got viral meningitis, which is an inflammation of the covering of the brain. And my mother said, "No, you were just exhausted." But it was she forgets, you know. I have to say, but she all along with the doctors, they you know, I can remember you have viral meningitis, had the spinal tap, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I was quarantined from school for 6 weeks and was told I couldn't play sports for a year because if I'd get a knock on the head, I would it could come back. So this was my last year of high school, so I had to get a tutor to help me get through the last year of high school. You know, I couldn't miss the first grading period. Well, my high school band director, he gave me a call and he said, "Look, I know you're not going to be able to play on the football team this year, and we need an oboe player." I played baseball and I played football and I wrestled when I was in high school. So he said, "I know you're not going to be able to be on the team this year, so we need an oboe player. We lost our oboe player, so why don't you try it? Why don't you try? You're going to be home for 6 weeks. Just give it a try." Well, I tried it and I fell in love with it. It was everything to me. So I got a private teacher, and there it was. I mean, I practiced until my mouth was feeling like it was going to drop off. And
I thought you were going to say that your mom gave you an oboe reed instead of a pacifier
early
on.
No. But my teacher, the teacher that I got a teacher right away, which was really lucky. Yeah. And the first lesson that I had, I was given a reed knife and all the tools and said, "If you're going to play this instrument, you're going to have to learn how to make reeds," which all the double reed players do. But usually you get a start on that later. Well, he started me right away, and it was a really good thing. It was a really good thing. So
okay.
Anyway, there you go.
So basically, baseball, football, and wrestling as an apprenticeship for the oboe. Excellent.
That'll do it. It'll help you it'll help you deal with any conductor you ever have to play with.
And I'm going to jump ahead because, sorry, Julie, but I have a question here because you have a bit of a reputation as a rabble-rouser during orchestral rehearsals, and I wondered how that came about. I mean, some conductors are fearful of you, James Mason.
Well, that's okay. Keith, I think we've known each other for a long time, and I think he's stretching things a little bit, but you know, I like to have fun, and this is fun, you know? Music is fun. Playing in an orchestra, I don't believe they pay me to do this. I mean, it is so much fun. And I still have fun, you know? I've been making a living. We were talking this morning. I've been making a living at this now for 36 years. And it's still fun. And there are a lot of, you know, a lot of people will look at a musician who is serious in a serious business like classical music, and they'll think that you're serious. Well, I'm not very serious. And there are lots of ways that you can lampoon the situation, you know, and often things will get stressful, and, you know, it's good to have that stress valve. And there are a lot of things that are funny. For example, I'll give you just one little example. We had a guest conductor a number of years ago, and we had soloists who we were doing the Beethoven triple concerto with violin, cello, and piano, and this was in Kitchener. This was in Kitchener, and so I knew the soloists. I was good friends with the soloists, and so I thought, I'm going to get these guys. I'm just going to get them a little bit. So I went backstage before the rehearsal and went to the conductor's, you know, his office, the dressing room, and I said, "Maestro, now, I don't know if you've heard, but the pianist has been in an industrial accident." Now, why I thought of that, I don't know, but I was real serious, and I said, and he suffered a great hearing loss. So when you address him, you have to look at him and speak loudly and very slowly. So we got started, and he turned around and he looked at the pianist, who was Jamie Parker, and he looked at him and he said, "We'll start at letter J, letter J." And Jamie looked at him like, "Okay." I mean, it was very funny. It was very funny. Nobody else knew what was going on, and I just think it's important to do that sort of thing. And it's funny and it's fun. Nobody gets hurt, and it keeps things friendly, and I think it's.
I've been at many of those rehearsals, but I'm not going to. I think it's Julie's turn now. Julie, was there a moment when music became something more than something you did, something you wanted to pursue in your life?
Oh man, I always wanted to do it. I don't remember ever not being with it. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, my answers are really short.
It's okay.
But you studied.
Jim's a better talker anyway.
No.
You left Canada to study. You studied
did.
in Germany.
Yes. First, I went to Indiana. Sorry, I should be closer. First, I studied at Indiana University, did my undergrad there, and then I went to Freiburg in Germany, southern Germany, and I studied there for a while and just started gigging and thought after a while that I didn't want to stay over there for a really long time, and so I arranged to come back to Canada, and I moved to Toronto.
Now, why would you go to Germany, though? You were playing primarily Baroque fiddle at this stage?
I actually did go there to study, and then I ended up just meeting some people, and they were.
But it was Baroque
It was the
instrument.
Freiburg Baroque Orchestra,
Okay.
and so I just started playing with them, and I got to travel to all kinds of really amazing places that I would never have gone to, like the Canary Islands, and also Berlin, which at that time in 1988, 89 was still it was still divided by the wall, and I was totally fascinated by that. It was just it was the most bizarre circumstance to have this wall just running right through an entire country, and so when I was there, I got to explore in the east a little bit, which everything was different. It smelled different. When I got over there after I passed through Checkpoint Charlie, the weather was different. It was insane. Yeah. It felt completely foreign.
But why the Baroque violin? Was there a tradition of that where you were taught in Vancouver? Did you
I just
pick up the
kind
habit
of
there?
fell into that. Actually, at
I see.
Indiana. Indiana University has an incredible early music program. It's amazing. And Stanley Ritchie at the time he was the violinist. He's played here before as well. He's been up
here
here.
at the festival.
Yeah. And he just had the most happening early music department there at the university. It's still going strong. And so my teacher's policy at the time, my main violin teacher's policy at the time was that all of his students had to do Baroque orchestra for a term, or for 2 terms. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, so that was how I got into it. And I never really got out of it. I've been doing it ever since, more or less. Yeah.
But you've been doing both.
Yeah, both
styles,
all
as
along
it
the way.
were,
I've got a
all
huge
styles.
collection of bows, and all for all different periods, and have a couple of violins that I use depending on the music that I'm playing.
There's a
Anybody
lot-
want to buy a violin or some bows? Sorry.
There's a lot of stuff to learn, isn't there, about Baroque instrument, about Baroque performance? I mean, 30 years ago, just playing without vibrato was about as much as you
far
could
as you got,
aim, and then that was Baroque style. But now you've got to study all the different countries, the different European countries, different performing traditions, different styles, different ways of playing. It's a big field.
It is a big field, but it's also become kind of mainstream. It used to be a real specialization, and now if you're a gigger or you're a freelancer, you're sort of expected to have that skill. At least be somewhat familiar with it. It really helps to have that.
And as in this festival, you'll be playing Baroque 1 minute and Romantic violin the next minute.
Yeah.
So you've got to stay flexible there.
Yeah.
You play with the Kitchener Orchestra from time to time?
Yes, I sub with them when they need some extra people, and I get to hear Jim play.
and I get to hear you play.
And Jim, you have been with the orchestra for quite a time.
32 seasons. Yeah, it's been a long time. Yeah.
Were you part of that group that formed the Canadian Chamber Ensemble?
Yes, I was.
So you're a founder member of that.
I'm not a founding member. I came in more or less the second wave. That started in 1974, and I came in 1979, and got to travel. That was an incredibly wonderful time. We had a major tour in the 1980s. We would tour all over the world. Every year we'd have a month to 6 weeks. One year we were gone for 10 weeks and had, made a lot of recordings and had the opportunity to do a lot of traveling to a lot of different countries. And it was just a really wonderful time, Yeah.
Where did you two meet? What was the...
We met
it
in
on-
Elora.
In a rehearsal?
In Elora at a music festival. Yeah.
The Elora Festival.
Yeah.
Well, we had played together. We didn't know it, but we had played together for like 3 years, off and on.
We've been doing the same festival.
Various
yeah.
gigging, when we say gigging, we mean freelance, where you would get called by a contractor to come to some place to play. And we didn't notice each other. How could I have not noticed you? I don't get it. But I was involved in a marriage that had fallen apart. My wife was leaving, and I showed up and looked across the stage, and I thought, "Oh my God, who is that?" It's true. That's exactly what I said.
And I thought the same thing, actually.
And I found out I had a Robert Redford mask on at the time. That's what I was wearing. No. I found out from a colleague of Julie's. I came to this guy and said, oh, "See that woman over there? What's her name?" I got him. And he said, "That's Julie." And so he chaperoned a lunch for us. I got him to hook us up for a lunch, and that's been everything ever since for me. I mean, I actually, when you meet somebody. When you meet somebody, a lot of times you say things that you want to say to get them interested in you. And it might not always be the whole truth. You don't lie. But you say things that might be stretched just a little teeny bit. I told her how much I was interested in the Baroque oboe. Not. And how much I wanted to learn how to play it. Wrong. Well,
he did actually at one point do a concert on the Baroque oboe.
Jim Mackay, my longtime friend here, forced me
squawked his way through a Telemann
into
sonata.
doing it, and I squawked. I had my coming out party at the University of Western Ontario,
and then he crawled back in his hole.
I crawled back in the hole after the coming out. I thought I'll never do this again, But anyway, that was one of the things,
And that oboe's been sold.
That oboe was sold, yeah. Never to be seen again. So
there are not enough keys on the Baroque oboe?
No, not enough keys.
Not enough metal.
No, it's in the Baroque oboe. I mean, those instruments were built to be played in smaller, maybe churches that are more vibrant, or in smaller rooms, and you can't blow very hard on the instrument. But on the modern oboe, you have to blow. You have to make a lot of sound. You have to blow hard. And when you try to play a Baroque oboe like you do the modern oboe, it's a mess. I mean, you get it's like you're playing the chicken dance or something. I mean, you're squawking all the time. So it's very difficult to change back and forth and go back and forth. So anyway, it's hard enough to play the one that I'm playing,
But Julie, you do play together. I've heard you at this festival.
We do, but it's always
I'm
modern.
always playing my modern violin.
Yeah.
He's always playing his modern.
Okay.
Yeah, we do play together, and that's one of the joys of my life when we get to do that. So.
What repertoire are you talking about here?
There's a concerto that Bach wrote for oboe and violin, and we love to do that. And there are lots of Baroque chamber works that we can do with a harpsichord player and a bassoon or a cello. Lots and lots of things we can do, and we do. I mean, we ran a Baroque festival for 5 years. The Grand River Baroque Festival, it was called, and through our children's infancy, our oldest son, who is now 11, it was just, after a while, it got too much. Now, I know I don't want you to go, but 6 years ago, I got lymphoma, and it was, that's the kind of a cancer that you get, and it's like diabetes now. It has to be managed. It just, if you take care of yourself, if you do some lifestyle changes, and if you get it early enough, it won't get you. This is what I hope, anyway. And I was thinking, you've got to knock some of your stress out. And it was like every time any new company came into the KW area, I was going, somebody's got to introduce me to somebody in human resources so I can get them to give me some money for my festival, and that was what it was all about. I mean, I was the fundraiser, and Julie, she did a lot of the, we were the founding artistic directors, and we had a board, but it was a lot of work. It's a lot of work to run something like this.
But at its best, a festival can give at its best, a festival can give you a lot of wonderful time.
Absolutely, so. And we did. In fact, when we dropped the festival, we thought, this festival has been our whole life since we've been married. I mean, are we going to be able to make it? I mean, are we going to be able to stay married? All we talk about is this festival every day, And happily, it's being out of it has enhanced it, So that's
it continues, I believe. The festival.
Well, they're taking a year off this year.
Okay.
They
But
ran
at its
into
best,
some
it was a
problems.
wonderful festival. It was in a big old barn in the middle of the countryside, and it was a wonderful experience. And you did some marvelous programming.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. Now, when did you first come to this festival, Julie?
About 10, 11, 12 years ago, when I met Jim.
Okay.
Yeah. The very first year I came, I visited, was, I think, 1997.
97 was the first year. The first year you played was it 99?
I think
maybe 99.
Yeah. And you came, as
19
a member of the Festival Winds? Was that the first?
No, I came. We didn't have Festival Winds back then. I came when Anton Querti was still artistic director. One night, he had come to Kitchener and played Brahms' Concerto in D minor with the orchestra in January, and about a month later, he called me and asked me if I wanted to play in his festival this year. I guess he liked my playing and wanted to give me a try in the festival, and I've been coming ever since. That was 1980.
1980, I think.
I want to say 1981.
Okay.
I think. I didn't play the first year, 1980, but I played the second year, 1981. I've been coming ever since. So
every year, I believe.
Every year. There were 2 years that I didn't come. They were year. One year was a year when I was playing in a festival in Arizona, and the other year was a year when Jim Campbell he took a year's leave of absence, and Dennis Brott was the director, and he had an oboe player that he liked, and so he brought him. But every other year I've been here.
Let me ask you what it is that brings you back
to
this festival. Yeah.
Well, this guy, for one, right here. Well, I mean, this is, it's just it's a wonderful situation. I love the energy that we have, and you. I mean, and of course, Julie. I mean, just having the opportunity to see old friends and make music at a high level. Everybody's got to be concentrating. Everybody is there, and they love doing what they're doing. You don't have anybody going, "Oh, we got to do this again, or we got to do this again." When you're in an orchestra, there are a lot of people who, in every orchestra, every single orchestra, you'll find people that are kind of, "I got to do
Grumblers.
this." How can you grumble when you get to do this? How could you possibly grumble when you get to make this music? I mean, and when you're with people who love to do it, when you're with people who really, really enjoy it, it makes you feel good. incestual, really. We feed off of this, and a lot of us work with each other in the winter months, in the fall, winter, and spring months, and a lot of times it's from connections that we made at the festival. Sometimes you've got to travel far and wide to find people who you like to play with as much as we like to play with each other. So.
Well, there we have it in a nutshell, I think. What makes a festival? It's sort of making fine music, making fine friends, and doing it all year after year, and it's a wonderful experience. You've got a concert to play tonight.
Yeah.
You both got quite a big concert to play tonight. There's Strauss and Mahler. Mahler's tomorrow night, but Strauss is tonight. I've got the T-shirt to prove it, by the way.
That's a great shirt, by the way.
I want to really thank you for sharing your life and sharing your passion for music.
Pleasure.
I mean, it's so transparent. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I look forward to the concert.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Thanks for coming, folks.